I know we make fun of Jenna for saying, what a game, what a press conference.
You know, I've seen some. That was some.
Yeah, that was something.
This is the Buffalo Plus Podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus Podcast. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. We're here in the Connors and Ferris podcast studio. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We are breaking down what we saw today as Brandon Beane, Terry Pegula meeting with the media. A lot to get to. The decision on firing Sean McDermott. Was there a power play struggle? The comments on Keon, as well as the candidates now for head coach for the Buffalo Bills. Let's start big picture, though, Mike. What did you make of this afternoon in Orchard Park?
In the big picture, it's just a news conference, right? But it's at a key moment in the franchise. And I'm trying not to overstate it. But you found a way to lower confidence in management and at the same time alienate some of your fans.
Mm-hmm.
That is quite an achievement in a postseason news conference. When you started out by firing a coach who was maybe as popular as he's been in the last 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
Yeah. And you fired him.
Yeah, that was... And I know there were some people, and we were like, obviously going through and doing our job, and we just got back from Buffalo, but we were kind of talking about it in the sense of going through some of the words that were said. And I know there are some people in some comments that we already had our stories written 2 days ago and all those things. That's just the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah.
We knew there would be some hard questions that were going to have to be asked. There were a lot of hard questions that people and fans wanted the media to ask. And I thought they were all fair questions. I thought your guys' questions were great. Matt Perino did a great job asking questions.
Yep.
Jay Skursky, like across the board, I thought they were really fair questions that were asked because you are making, and as Terry did say, like this is a crucial turning point in a massive move for an organization. But I didn't think they hit the notes they wanted to hit. And if they were trying to push at times, it felt like Terry, I think, got the point across that it was his decision and his decision solely. I don't know how well that landed when it was mainly the decision felt like it was just because of the outcome of the Denver game, which poses the question of what if they won the game? Then you make the decision. And he talks about the emotion in the locker room, Jenna. Like that to me didn't seem to strike stability and a consensus message that was being sent across. And again, comment in with what you guys thought. It was about a 40-minute press conference.
Yeah, 45 minutes-ish. Here is what Terry Pegula had to say, his comments on the decision-making behind firing head coach Sean McDermott.
I did not fire a coach based on a bad officiating decision. If I can take you into that locker room, I felt like we hit the proverbial playoff wall year after year. 13 seconds, missed field goals, the catch. So I just sensed in that locker room, like, where do we go from here with what we have? And that was the basis for my decision.
There was a lot of emotion in that locker room. And we even talked about how that was the most emotional we'd ever seen Josh, the crying, the tears. It just felt like, though, to me, that's such a rash decision. It's so reactionary. And that to me is what kind of scared me, is because this is such a massive decision for this team. And so many people poo-poo culture and all this stuff, but the culture is real and a piece of why this team has been so successful. And to just say in a moment, we've hit a wall and it's over. And that's where I struggle with, because it's just, like you said, and like Terry Pegula said, this is such a critical moment in this team. Josh Allen, about to be 30 years old. You don't really have the wiggle room anymore. And for him to say, you know what? we're going to fire Sean and have a new head coach in here. It just feels like so disruptive to what this team has built.
You struck something when you said that, because, I was in the locker room after that game, and I said to you guys, I'd never seen that kind of emotion. And now as I'm thinking of it, I'm like, hold on a second, because you're going to move away from, I'll say, the best hire Terry Pegula's ever made.
Correct.
The best hire. And Terry Pegula has not been a rash decision maker. He's needed to get pushed into. He had a half-assed general manager of his hockey team. He took him 6 years to get rid of him.
Yep.
He's got a guy who wins and wins and wins, just hadn't won it all. I get the frustration of not being in the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Everybody gets that point. But when I saw those tears, that doesn't mean they were directed at Sean McDermott and anybody thinking that he was going to get fired. But I'm like, when my coach has been there for this long and his group cares that much, I know players care, but like that much, that's the moment when you're thinking this isn't working. That is the part. Look, you could make reasons to want to fire Sean McDermott. I am not denying you that.
Yeah.
But what I saw in that room was culture to the highest level, players who care for each other. Your quarterback, who is a superstar, was talking about his teammates and letting them down. That's the moment you want to blow up the locker room. That part just floors me now when I think of it that way.
And going off of what Jenna said, and what just like really hit me right then and there was going back to last year's press conference. And I remember doing the story, and you said that he made what seems to be an emotional decision because he saw the emotion in the locker room. He said he saw Josh's face, sobbing, listless, all of those things. That's when he said he knew they had hit the proverbial wall and all of those things. But I think back to Brandon Beane just a year ago at this same press conference, his end of the year press conference, and he said he would not make any rash decision for 72 hours because the loss was too hurtful and too painful. And the owner makes a move that affects everything.
Yeah.
It's not just affecting the roster. It's affecting the culture. It's affecting everything that goes with it.
So Dan is saying the owner makes a move. Was that his move alone?
See,
that's the way he's portraying it.
To me, I just feel like it's naive to think that Terry Pegula made this decision and it was his decision alone. Because I think if you're talking this through, and also Brandon Beane gets a promotion out of this, to me, if Brandon didn't feel like this was the right decision to make, you say, hey, it's emotional right now. Let's calm down.
Yeah.
Let's look at what Sean has built. Look at this team. Look what that would do to the locker room. That would fracture this locker room. Like, I know the emotions are heavy right now. Let's go back to the drawing board. To me, this was Terry's idea. I think he was helped along in the situation of looking at this roster is talented enough to win a Super Bowl. Yeah, you had massive injuries to this roster as well as practice players and guys like Trey White. And you were sad Jordan Poyer wasn't in the mix for this game against Denver. I just think that the tone makes it seem like Terry, this was all his decision. But if Brandon Beane wanted to, he could have said something to help at least slow down the decision-making of this. And it feels like that was not the case. And so I believe that Terry Pegula was helped to this decision. And then out of that, Brandon Beane has gotten a promotion. Because here's where I've struggled with this. And I even asked Terry Pegula this because Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, their careers, their successes and their failures are so enmeshed. They're so intertwined with this Bills team. What led to the decision-making to fire Sean, and yet what gave the merit for Brandon to get promoted? And here's what Terry Pegula had to say.
That was my decision. I could be wrong. But it was success with the players. I think we've, I don't know if anybody knows it in this room, but Josh Allen wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this guy pushing and pushing, and pulling a Houdini in that draft to get to the position where we could pick him. So, that was my decision
But that to me is
Great question.
that to me
Also,
is
great word saying a mesh.
Oh yeah. But that to me is, hey, this guy drafted drafted Josh Allen. We know that, and Josh Allen is a unicorn, and we all know that. But this is just so disruptive to this locker room. And even hearing about how Josh Allen found out about this, and the players found out, like from ESPN alerts, that is malpractice.
Yeah, there's no way about it. Like it just seemed, and again, the whole press conference, and this is what I expected, and this is what I think always going to be the message.
Did you expect Terry Pegula to talk that much?
No,
no,
I did not. I give him credit for that.
But I expected it to be, look at all the good things Brandon's done. Thanks, Sean. Left the place in a better, left Buffalo in a better place than he found it. But I expected Sean to get the brunt of the blame. It just felt like at times it was piling on, and not being able to differentiate from the coaching and the roster.
Yeah.
Because Jenna, you also, we tweet out, and again, bunch of good stuff on our social media, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. But the fact of Terry saying, we had practice squad players playing in big games, like unbelievable, right? And it's like, well, they're there because, and he addressed the injuries, but for him to see it through the lens, which is his prerogative, it's his team.
Right.
But he sees practice squad players playing as that's great because of Brandon Beane found guys in the practice squad, instead of, wow, these guys are playing at a really high level because we've made it so far, because Sean has coached them up and gotten the most out of them. He gets the most out of, he makes little players play big. That's what I've heard Chris Long talk about. He gets the most talent out of his players. And so to see it and view it as, wow, Brandon found this guy in the practice squad, and not as, wow, Sean coached these guys up to make us a 12-5 team and to be this good and to be one play away, because Terry hammered it home early on in the press conference. It was a catch. A bad call is what cost us our game. And shout out Tim Graham of The Athletic said, if it was a bad call, why did you make this move? And I was in the locker room. We all saw it.
Yeah.
Terry acting like he's the only one that saw the emotion of the team. You talked to Dion, had to stop the press, had to stop his media availability. Like that to me just hit a sour note and just didn't hit me the right way.
And I totally understand if people are like, you know what, you needed to change. I could see why you would say that. This team has, they've had great success in the playoffs, but also they haven't been able to get over the hump. The thing that's so perplexing to me is that, again, these guys, Sean and Brandon, they are just so together that it's hard for me to say this guy deserves this much more and this guy deserves nothing. That's what I struggle with. If you wanted to change, I totally get it. But to have one guy stay and one guy go doesn't really make sense to me.
And if you want to, you could take their pluses and minuses and find one that fits for both, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
McDermott's 13 seconds, Beane's wasted draft pick with Kyer Elam. I mean, obviously one's losing a game and one's a draft pick, but you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Beane has had a lot of success in his time with the Bills. I think this was his worst year as a general manager this last year.
And I would hope that he would.
You could argue that it was Sean's best coaching, like we said, maybe in the last 4 years. And so that doesn't mean, look, I thought either they both stay or they both go, if you're going to do it that way. I thought that would have been the thing. They decided not to. You know what they're doing? They're trying to build narratives here. And teams think this all the time. Like, they can create narratives. You're not stupid. We're not stupid. Like, again, I'm going to use the line again. Piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. I'm not buying it, okay? You can tell me all these things. I don't buy that. I don't buy that Terry just arbitrarily came in and blew up, and it was like he walked in the office and told Sean not to get on the plane. Right? That wasn't the case. So I don't like the way this has happened. I don't think it's good for the franchise. Can they get out of it? Sure. They still have Josh Allen.
Yeah.
They could hire a really good coach. He could be great.
Yeah.
We don't know.
And maybe this is the right move. Like, maybe this is.
We won't know for a few years.
Well, we won't know until next January.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I asked the question about pressure on the new coach. And Terry's like, well, it's no Super Bowl or bust, which I understand. Super Bowl or bust is a tough thing to say. But you're hiring this guy because you don't believe Sean can get you past that point. So if they get to that point again, I would assume the expectation is this new coach, do you believe, can get them there?
Yeah.
You got to get to that spot first. So
New doesn't mean bad, but new does also not guarantee better.
I'm with you.
Also, there's been more stuff that has come out, and Tim Graham is, I think, one of the best reporters at finding this stuff out. Talks about how the medical staff was working, had to answer to Brandon Beane. That's part of why Sean would say, from what I've been told, those kind of things. There's just, and obviously this is what always happens. That all of this stuff comes out after a player is cut, traded, all of these kind of things. But it is a little bit, not to the same extent, but it's like when you knew how good Tomlin was as a coach, and you were like, yeah, he's a good coach. And then you realize like how crazy Antonio Brown may have been and Le'Veon Bell. And you're like, he's a great coach, like of culture,
right?
Specifically culture. And the Bills have been for 17 years, Mike, and you tweeted that it felt like the drought days a little bit. I said, I was talking to somebody else in the media room and I go, it wasn't quite Whaley's privy press conference, but it felt a little dysfunctional. And for the last 9 years, they have been the epitome of structure, buttoned up, all of those things. And it just feels like that's cracking.
I'm getting texts from around the league, people watching this that say, Jets that say, man, I thought the Browns were bad. They say things like, what is your owner talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is just tune in. I want to hear what they have to say. And you go, wow, that's not somebody in the mix, Bills fan, whoever it is. These are people just looking at it from around the league the way we might look at it. If it was a Ravens press conference or the Steelers or whatever it happens to be, I just thought it was an odd way to look like you are in control. I will also say Terry was asked about the players' feelings.
Yeah.
And most of them put it out on social.
Yeah.
I mean,
guys like Dion, like Jordan Poyer, like Jordan Phillips, former players as well. And
what did he say?
I don't see that.
I don't see that. I don't care about that.
Yeah. That to me, I didn't like that answer either.
It's tone deaf. It's just, and I guess that's how the whole thing felt. And I don't really know what I expected.
I
agree. I don't know what I expected.
With so much Terry.
So to sit here and nobody and if you want to comment in, feel free again. But I just never went in there expecting one thing. I just don't necessarily think I expected this.
We have been in Brandon Beane's postseason news conferences. If you just took his answers, it's very similar to most of them.
Yeah.
It's the way he answers questions. Gets
He's
a little
really
fired up about stuff.
He's really good at it.
Filibusters when he doesn't want to answer, whatever it is. He answers like a professional who knows how to answer.
Savvy.
Definitely.
Terry was the difference in this. He rarely ever talks.
It's been 6 years.
And in fairness, he mentioned it. He's going through a lot with his family.
Yes.
I get that part. But he's had opportunities to talk and he hasn't. He had to talk here. He was very emphatic when he talked.
Yeah.
And I think that's what took people by surprise. But he was kind of all over the map.
Yeah.
And
he was
his
emphatic
reasoning,
and a bit erratic.
Yeah. Oh, very good.
Wow.
That was good.
These are high-level Scrabble words here. Triple word bonus.
Do you play Scrabble?
There's not a shot.
I play Scrabble.
Dan
just
probably can't spell Scrabble.
Yeah. Also, like, we didn't talk about it, I don't think, but like the press release that had the five grammatical errors. Like we were
Admiral.
Yeah. Like we were we went and did our live pod kind of like as a lot of that stuff was going on. And I can't read to begin with, so I didn't notice anything. But then to see again how poorly that felt didn't seem to do justice to Sean for all that he had meant to the team. And then, Mike, you had made the comment that you asked if I had written the press release, and I did not.
No, he didn't. He could have. It might have been better if Dan wrote it.
I don't know.
Because even if it was spelled correctly, admirable.
He turned your franchise from a dysfunction laughingstock of the league to a perennial Super Bowl contender.
And I don't believe they're going to look like what they used to. Today they did.
That's what scares me the most.
Since the firing of Sean, they have looked not buttoned up. And Sean doesn't control the releases and things like that. I said he's the soul of the franchise. I did not like the way it felt today. They have time to fix this, right? I'm not going to say to you, your franchise is done. They have time to. I think there's a little alienation of the quarterback here. That worries me a lot.
That worries me a lot as well. Because, Dan, it seems like this decision, Terry Pegula said, well, actually, what did he say?
We have a soundbite, didn't we?
We have the
About
soundbite.
Josh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was asked about Josh's input in this decision and what he was
privy to.
Oh.
He didn't have any input at all. I didn't talk to Josh about this. I talked to him afterwards, and that conversation will stay private, but he had no input in it.
Josh is going to be part, I guess, in some form of the hiring of the new coach. At least they said, right? He'll be with this group, which is, it's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
That's I agree.
But he wasn't consulted about the only coach he's ever had, who he goes to dinner at his house every week. Am I missing something? Is this really we're covering for Josh because he really wanted Sean out? Like, I don't buy that. I don't think any of that stuff.
This is the type of stuff, though, that very much scares me, though. Yes, because this is what bad teams do.
This is what the Browns do. This is what the Jets do. This is what the Giants have done.
And I'm not saying you can't repair things because, like you said, it's very early on in this process. But these are fractures that have reverberations throughout the locker room of players that are in that locker room saying, what the hell? Oh my gosh.
Reverberations throughout the league.
That too.
Yeah. Mike talks about the narrative and what the Bills were trying to get across. There's also a narrative throughout the league, and players that have come into Buffalo have said recently, we came here for the culture. We came here because we know it means more and all of those kind of things.
And the other guys on the team are saying, come to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had kind of hinted at this, not hinted at it, I was kind of mentioning it like, oh, everybody thinks that this is the most slam dunk job,
number one job,
because it's Josh Allen. And I said, I was like, I don't really know about that because now the perception, you're seeing this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're seeing now the GM who has drafted 2 Pro Bowlers in his last 56 players. You're now answering to him. That has been crystal clear. It's what John Harbaugh and the Giants were working out in the contract.
Explain that a little bit.
So John Harbaugh, he had agreed, but then there was a holdup, and we didn't really know what the language was in the holdup. It was pretty much the sense that John Harbaugh's like, I'm not answering to Joe Schoen, the GM, or I'm answering to
the
owner.
Yeah.
Right.
And in years past, especially in Buffalo, Sean McDermott answered to Pegula, and Brandon Beane answered to Pegula. And now what you will see, what they've made crystal clear, is that whoever the head coach is will answer to Brandon Beane.
Yes. So previously it was a horizontal reporting system, like you said. So it was Sean and Brandon, and they report to Pegula. Now it's vertical. So it's the new head coach will report to Beane, who will report to Pegula.
And it also indicates some decision making by the general manager, including oversight of coaching staff. It's hinted. They didn't talk about that today. I think it was mentioned before. Those are things that can impact the type of coach you end up getting.
And listen, the reason that this is kind of apparent, or that I think is noteworthy, is we just saw this happen not too long ago in Tennessee, where the head coach and the general manager, Mike Vrabel, they didn't see eye to eye. They didn't like who was in charge, who had the final say.
Yeah.
And while they will always say, just like Joe Schoen said in his press conference performance, that this happens, it'll be collaborative. Yes, it's always collaborative.
Yeah.
But when push comes to shove, somebody gets a final say.
Yeah.
And You saw what happened in Tennessee. They had stability with Vrabel. They had a culture. The GM forced out the head coach, and now that GM's gone too.
Yeah.
So this is where if you're, and I get it also, like, guys, I'm not stupid. Clip that for you. The fact of there's only 32 head coaching jobs, and you dream of being a head coach and all of these things. But Ben Johnson looked at the Washington Commanders front office and the way that was, and he said, no thanks. I'd rather be a coordinator. I'll be another hot name next year. And he landed a great spot in Chicago where he got a lot of say in what was going to be done. And so that's where I worry, where all of a sudden you're a head coaching candidate that says, so I'm directly answering to a GM that has drafted two Pro Bowlers out of 56 guys, has kind of struggled to address wide receivers since trading Stephon Diggs. And that's my faith. And like we've already mentioned, the expectations. And Terry's going to say, obviously it's not fair to say Super Bowl or bust, but that is the benchmark. When Sean came in, it was, please make the playoffs. Now Sean leaves, and the next coach has to say, please get us to a Super Bowl.
That is the goal to begin with for the next coach. That was the floor for Sean.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He hit that every year, second round of the playoffs, or every year since 19. So you knew he was going to get there. The frustration was getting past there. And he made it to the championship twice. So all that is true. I want to emphasize again, it's a news conference. It's not every decision that's been made, but not a great start. The amount of time since what? The firing was on Monday. It's 48 hours.
Yep.
Well, now it'll be a little more than that. It has not been a great 48 hours for the Buffalo Bills at all.
And again, Terry Pegula said several times, wanted to make it crystal clear that it was his decision. And I can't remember who asked it, but was asked about the power play that did Brandon Beane pull off some type of power play to force Sean out and get himself fired. And in full transparency, like, we just want to relay and show you what Brandon Beane's and Terry Pegula's answers were to that question.
I'm the kind of guy, if I sense you're on a power play, you're out. I don't like power play people. We have an organization we work together, but any sense at all that he was on a power play, he would have been gone.
I've done nothing but have everyone's back. And so for someone to question my character, my integrity, that's where I draw the line.
Yeah, I think we do need to add that for context. Absolutely. Because that was asked, and Brandon obviously very, what's the word? I don't want to use emphatically again.
Adamantly?
Adamantly, yeah. And like, I get it. I would do the same thing.
Boy, Daniel, that was good. And
A-D.
Oh, God.
yeah, don't try. And yes, they did push back on it. But Terry did say, if he would have done that, he would be gone. So are they insinuating that that's what Sean did?
I don't know.
Kind of came out that way, whether it was intentional or not.
And again, we're starting to hear the cracks. Like, you're starting, Vic Carucci's article saying basically that 5 or 6 weeks ago, there was a conversation between Pegula, Beane, and McDermott.
McDermott was critical of the roster.
Yeah, roster
And like we had talked about
decisions.
at the trade deadline, when Brandon said we have a Super Bowl caliber roster, and Sean said, I love the guys.
I want somebody to comment and tell me they believe this a Super Bowl roster.
Yep.
Like, going into the playoffs, this was a Super Bowl roster. I just,
Yeah.
because of the injuries, I think that's important context. Not like heading into the year with Ed Oliver,
Right.
all that stuff.
And
I
I
know
guess-
Ed Oliver did play, but obviously was limited.
And again, I guess that's where I come to too, is that Terry was so adamant that it was a catch and that it was a bad call. If they would have gotten blown out,
And they had injuries.
it's like he's seeing all the same things we're seeing, and is just seeing it through a different
Now,
scope.
he did say, which he should have said at the beginning, that it was about the wall. Felt like we had hit the wall. I'm fine with him saying you felt like they hit the wall. You feel like they've hit a wall.
That was the one thing where I was like, if they would have just reiterated that,
Yeah.
we feel like we've reached our
Playoff wall.
potential. We have gotten as far as Sean can take us. I would understand that. I think
Right.
that's the sentiment that most fans have had. When I talk to fans, and they kind of say that, like, well, I don't know if McDermott can get us over the hump. fair criticism.
Yeah, because he hasn't
Like,
done it.
He hasn't done it. Like, that is factual. I understand that. But again, then it's so hard to comprehend and wrap your brain around the fact that then the other guy that is, like Jenna said, enmeshed with that success of not getting over the hump gets the promotion.
Yeah. That's what I struggle with as well.
And then Keon catches the most random stray of all time. I mean,
They mentioned 2 players at the news conference. Josh Allen, Keon Coleman.
and the question was not about Keon. Keon was never phrased in a
Right.
question up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
Sal Maron of the Democrat and Chronicle asked the question to Brandon Beane if he thinks he has done enough at the wide receiver position to help Josh Allen, and then this happened.
How do you answer the fact that you have not given Josh a good enough wide receiver thus far?
Yeah, I mean,
Can I interrupt? I'll address the Keon situation. The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon. I'm not saying Brandon wouldn't have drafted him, but he wasn't his next choice. That was Brandon being a team player and taking advice of his coaching staff, who felt strongly about the player. And, he's taken, for some reason, heat over it and not saying a word about it, but I'm here to tell you the true story.
That was something.
19 minutes later, Brandon did clarify that he likes and believes and has faith
And that
in
it
Keon.
was his
Yeah.
pick.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, because no matter what was said with the coaches, offensive coaches, whatever, what liked Keon, Brandon Beane's got to be the one who sends the card in. It's his pick.
Yes.
It's his name that's on it.
Yes. So that was the case, but it was kind of wild that they were talking about him.
That's where I feel like it definitely got to, how can we spin this to defend Brandon? And that's what I just,
Well, it got blamed on the coaching staff.
Mhm.
The coaching staff had a lot to do with Sean did the defensive players that were drafted. Like anything that it felt like they wanted to be on the downside ended up being in the column. Now, I'll give Brandon this. He did say, I wrote it down. He made mistakes. I'm accountable. I wrote down exactly what he said. But it was him basically talking about his role in what has happened.
yeah.
Oh, I bear guilt, blame, and responsibility. I could have done better. That's fair, right? He's the general manager. Because he was talking about all the things about Sean that he had done.
But again, the tone of it came across as Sean and the staff wanted Keon, but this guy over here, he drafted Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Like that was where it just didn't feel right to me.
Wait a minute. Bean drafted Josh Allen?
So that was, and then, like I said, that it was I think it was Bean was like, well, let me just make this, clear. I don't want you guys to jump to conclusions, something like that. And Tim Graham's like, too late. Like,
Yeah, that was
Like-
Tim.
Yeah.
that was where it felt like the press conference really started to get off the rails. And again, it wasn't even a question directed at Terry. And he says, may I interrupt? And it was like,
He's a guy who never talks, and now he's a man. He interrupts
He's
all
interrupting.
the time.
that to me, where that felt very Jetsy. That felt very Brownsy. Like
Yeah.
that was where it was
Yeah,
like,
that's
Yeah.
fair.
Hey,
PEGULA
what did you-
also hasn't met with the media in 6 years.
Wow.
So that
With
was
the
his-
Bills media.
With the Bills media
Yeah,
in 6
because
years.
he just was at the.
Yes.
But I don't know if he
Yeah.
took questions. Did he take
I don't
questions?
think
at the
he
Sabres?
just announced.
He had it stored up. He was ready to talk today.
He certainly was.
So hey, you want a job with the Bills? Because there's a job opening here, and they have some names.
They do. So I do think it was important that we note that Terry said that they had the decision to fire Sean, that there wasn't they were asked if there was a coaching candidate in mind when they made this decision. Terry said that there was not. But in terms of, they said there's no leading candidate. They did say it would be a CEO head coach type of position. So the names we're hearing: Brian Dable, Joe Brady, Anthony Lynn, Anthony Weaver, Lou Amarillo. Now there's also guys like Clint Kubiak and Davis Webb who are currently in the playoffs. But
And the Jags OC,
yeah,
He's the 30-year-old guy.
30.
yes,
Yeah.
same age as Davis Webb, as well as Josh Allen.
Yeah. So they've requested, like they have to request permission for Daboll. He's still under contract to the Giants, even though he was fired. They're paying him. So that's why that has to be the case with certain people. So they're going to start here. I do feel like, to me, it's leaning towards one of the Super Bowl guys, maybe the case that they waited out. But we'll see. It could be a
So
different
Davis
decision.
Webb or Clint Kubiak.
Davis Webb would be something. He hasn't even been a coordinator. I know he has Bills connections.
He is
but-
very close with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So they obviously do have a rapport.
Yeah,
Right.
they were talking about how Davis Webb in his time in Buffalo used to run the quarterback room meetings. He would run them 3 days a week, very close with Josh. You saw pregame Josh with Davis before the game. He was also, I think, again, I don't hide my bias towards my infatuation with
Brian
Brian
Daboll.
Daboll. I respect him more than certain members of my family. I do want to have a head coach that has head coaching experience.
I agree with that. And I do feel like because Daboll knows these players so well, a lot of them, that it wouldn't feel as jarring as someone that's completely new showing up that doesn't have a relationship with really anyone.
And it also depends on where Josh Allen is right now.
I am so curious how he's feeling.
Yeah.
Davis Webb doesn't call plays. I want that to be.
He
has not
Has
called,
not called
He has not
plays.
called plays.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, is where people always talk about, oh, get the hot coordinator that has had a cup of coffee around Sean McVay or Matt LaFleur or Andy Reid. They haven't, those head coaches call the plays. So the offensive coordinator with the Rams, the quarterback's coach or the passing game coordinator, Nathan Schalise,
When we need to, we'll
sorry.
learn his name.
like
Yeah.
he's not calling plays.
But
So
I'm
like
not-
that is my concern. Is it was like when Ken Dorsey had never called plays. To have somebody that you assume Clint Kubiak has called plays for the last few years. That's great. If you can get him, I think that's a pretty good hire.
But
Yeah.
let's also imagine you're going to call plays for the first time and be a head coach,
Yes.
which that part alone is a lot for any head coach.
Yep.
To also be the play caller. So that might be aggressive in terms of guys who are that young, who, if they haven't called plays, and that be that case with Davis Webb. So,
Yeah. Something else to note from the press conference today, Josh Allen might need some type of offseason foot surgery. That's still being figured out. That being said, though, he was said to be set for OTAs coming up this spring. So
I'm only asking, did they say surgery?
Procedure.
procedure.
Oh, see, they love, That's
Yeah.
like the old line. It's successful surgery when it's on somebody else.
That's
or
funny.
minor
No.
surgery when it's on somebody else. It's successful when the doctor gets paid.
That's it.
That's the way
That
it
is
goes.
funny.
But yeah, you don't want to hear any of that stuff for Josh, but there was
Yeah.
something going on.
Overall, I feel like today did not really go great
For
for the Bills organization. And you're right. It kind of had that feel of like the drought and kind of can they figure this out? This is a monumental, critical decision for the Bills. And that's not to say that they can't get this figured out with Brandon Beane, but we obviously have concerns. And I once again want to come back to the fact that I think while it seems like this was Terry Pegula's decision to make this move, I definitely think he had help along the way. Whether or not he realizes it, that's to be determined by him. But I do feel like with Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane and just the way they were for this team, it's hard to kind of separate what part contributed to which. And so that's just my take on it. But
Yeah.
overall, I don't feel truly encouraged looking forward, but that doesn't mean that good things and a good head coach doesn't come here. But that's just how I feel.
I think once again, 17 is going to bail them out of whatever they don't do well.
This puts even more pressure on Josh,
Yep.
though.
I mean, it depends. It depends on the hire. Because if it is Brian Daboll, then Josh is in on that.
I agree, but I just feel like the leash is so short.
Yeah.
Because let's say they lose their first game this season. You don't think there's going to be comments about what the hell did we do this for? Now, will Terry Pegula hear those? It doesn't appear like he will, because he seems like he doesn't listen, but that's just the concern to me.
Interrupts and doesn't listen.
It's like every man.
Jenna is so dialed in, she doesn't even notice that I'm slouching.
Oh, I didn't even notice. No, overall though,
Yeah. Sorry, not the right time and place, guys. My bad.
Why?
Just trying to bring some
no,
levity.
it's fine.
It's fine.
No, I just
Nobody's dead.
no, obviously no one's dead. I don't feel encouraged, and usually I feel encouraged.
And I think we talked about like expecting, and Brandon talked about it too. Like normally this is the end of the year press conference when we talk about offensive line, tight ends, where they think they need to improve. It was none of that.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, it was, hey, whoever comes in is going to decide if they want to switch to a 3-4 defense. They're going to have to overhaul that sense. They're going to have to overhaul what they want to do as an offense. They talked about gap scheme, but between zone running, like all these kind of things with their offensive line. It is going to be major changes. Like we had talked about right when we heard the news that Sean McDermott was fired. I said, like, this is just the start of a massive change coming to this organization. And it's not unrealistic and also not Debbie Downer or Buffalo minus to sit here and be like, there could be a step back next season.
Yeah. And you get to watch the Patriots play in the AFC Championship game.
How dare you?
I just saw Bills fans have donated over $50,000 to Sean McDermott's Cancer Awareness Foundation.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, that's
That is
awesome.
nice.
I didn't see that.
That's Bills fans not jumping into tables. I say it all the time. That's
pretty cool.
What you should be known for.
Yeah.
I wanted to go, we are almost done here. I want to do a quick shout out to Paul, principal at Byron Burgeon.
Oh, nice.
Big fan of Buffalo Plus, says watches, shares the pod with other people. So he likes, comments, and shares.
We love
Signed
it.
Paul said hi to me at the gym the other day. Wanted to say hi to you guys. So I meant to mention it the other day, so I didn't get a chance. So
All right.
thanks, Paul.
I would say thank you, Paul. All right. Any lasting notes?
No comment. Again, I feel like there was an overwhelming, all the comments were pretty nice. The views on the end of the season after Denver game, really appreciated, as well as, the emergency pod that we did. Jenna may be slightly unprofessional at times, but we try and reel her in.
I know. It's tough.
Yeah.
And again, I think that, again, these are my feelings as well as we've had kind of some of this over. But also, like, I am, from what we're hearing from our friends around the league, this with kind of the listening to the way the wind is blowing around the league and how this is not going over well.
It's odd. It's not the Bills. The Bills created a style and a reputation that people expected something different. And now it didn't look like the Bills they've seen for most of the last decade.
And I also do feel like the locker room and the players that we have talked to have been so caught off guard by this and shaken by this that is something else that's a layer in this that we didn't really talk about all that much.
Yeah.
But yes, there will be new players coming in and other players that leave, but there's still going to be a core group of guys here that have been coached their entirety of their Bills career by Sean McDermott. And they feel at a loss that this change happened in the way that it did. So I think that can have a lasting impact. Now, how lasting? We don't know. And again, the next person that's in here has so much of what will change for this team and what it will look like. But right now, I think there's still, I don't think if you're a player, you feel like, wow, I feel so much better after watching that.
Well, that's the thing, is that for the longest time, you've known the direction. And where, again, knowing it hasn't made it to the final destination, and that being your apprehension, big words. I understand, but this now feels like a very pivotal turning point in this organization's history.
Yeah. And they believe that it's a turning point that's going to take them to where they want to go.
Correct.
And we're hoping that for all of you too, right?
Yep.
That it is, that it works.
Hey,
I mean,
we
we're against
like,
it.
I was gonna say, like,
For Josh Allen,
I would
for
say-
all these players. Yeah.
For us.
Yes. It's about us.
for you, but like truly, yes. It's just the confidence is a little shaken
It is a
at
little
this
shaken
moment.
right now.
Okay. That'll do it for us. Be sure to like let us know how you feel if you watched all that stuff. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We will catch you next time here on the Buffalo Plus podcast. Thank you so much for watching.
This is the Buffalo Plus Podcast.